A galaxy vast and dark. It is the 41st millennia, and the human race stands upon a precipice, ruled by the immortal emperor from his golden throne on Terra. The Imperium of mankind stretches out to the very fringes of the galaxy. The Imperium is assailed from within and without by alien, the mutant and the heretic. For all its might, the empire is crumbling. Its worlds are scattered and often isolated. Its vast martial strength is fettered by bloated bureaucracy. Its people are controlled through ignorance, fear, and superstition. Only the guiding light of the Emperor holds the Imperium together, the psychic beacon of the Astronomicon guiding mankind's ships through the darkness of the void. Those ships travel through the warp, the hellish dimensions of raw psychic energy that lurks beneath the skin of real space. By plunging into the tides of the warp, the spaceship can travel vast distances in a fraction of the time they might otherwise take. Moreover, it is by manipulating the energies of the warp that the psychic mutants known as astropaths can communicate across the vast gulfs between the imperial worlds. Yet the warp is not sterile plane. By its very nature, warp energy is pernicious and mutative, while its depths are inhabited by myriad predatory abominations that mankind has come to know as demons. The warp has always posed a terrible threat, its energies spilling into the galaxy in ferocious storms, its denizens seeking to subvert and conquer real space. Yet, in the closing years of the 41st millennia, a storm like no other has torn its way across the stars. Known as the Great Rift, this catastrophic phenomenon has split the Imperium almost in two, leaving countless worlds cut off from the Astronomicon. So has the war for survival become more desperate than ever before. Welcome back to the channel, Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man. There's just a little bit of lore out of the Kill Team rulebook there, and we're just showing off a finished product. We have a Kill Team board, basically just set, ready to go. It's one of the real popular items lately, especially with them changing the size of the Warhammer 40K game board to the 30-inch by 22-inch for like the smaller games, and then just doubling and tripling up for the larger games. So let's take a look. This one is on our standard 22 by 30-inch Kill Team game board, and it's boxed off, so that's all you're seeing right now. And in this case, we basically have one large building that can be split into two, like, basically equal halves, and then a bunch of like scatter terrain. So the two larger building pieces can actually be put together into a single big building. So you can use it in the smaller games like this, how it's set up, or in the larger games if you want to have like you know, the larger building. That's an option as well. So but the idea is everything is like interchangeable. Everything is like as modular as possible. So it's left reasonably modular, but there's some pieces that are glued. So but this is basically your set right out of the gates, and this is not like a specific it's not like a specific set from Games Workshop or anything. It's just basically certain items that I have like picked out in this case with the help of the client to make you know, like the perfect board, and then you can expand onto it from there. So but essentially what we've done is we left like the top pieces, so they're removable. So this can just be like additional scatter terrain if you don't want like the second levels, and then if you don't want people to be able to crawl up there at all, these are actually completely removable. So you can take those pieces off altogether and not have any second level stories. And then obviously you have quite a bit of extra terrain because you're going to have these extra pieces as well. So you end up with quite a few pieces of you know, extra scatter terrain. Basically you would have like these other large pieces if you weren't using that. But assuming that you were just going to use it so you could crawl up there with or without the scatter terrain, you know, all these pieces are removable and interchangeable. So you could like literally build, I mean, countless battlefields without ever having to repeat it. But obviously, I mean, I would assume over time, like anything, you probably would come up with like some of your favorites. But in this case, it's not really going to be set up as fair maybe as you would normally want to. But we can get the point across here. So if we basically just move this building over here, you will notice on these buildings that we have intentionally left one side of the building like this, so it has the flat edge on it, and then all the other edges are like the broken kind of rubbly bits. So when you take your building, you can actually still put it back up and join it into a single building. And then that obviously gives you the ability to play with your one large building with all your smaller scatter terrain, you know, around it. Or if you prefer, obviously, you could break it down into like the 2 half buildings, or you know, like a bunch of just smaller pieces, or you could combine all these pieces and just make like one gigantic building. So you definitely have a lot of options with this set. The actual like paint job on them came out phenomenal. This scheme has been like working out really well. I like the different highlights, and then obviously like the added in metallics and washes. Get a better view of what I was describing earlier. But you'll notice that like all of these are the flat edge, so they're able to join up. And then as far as like the little piece of the floor right here that sticks over, there's another piece on the other side that like corresponds with. So when you put the two together, you'll see you have like the perfect fit between the building. And then the same is done when we basically design the set and how we were going to build it. The same is done for the second floor. So then when you actually build the building, assemble it for a gameplay how you want it, you can build the entire set back into the single building and then go from there. Or obviously, like we said and demonstrated, you could break it down. So but that's basically the Kill Team set, and just want to kind of show off one of these before it goes out the door. These have been like really popular lately, obviously, with them changing the size of the you know, like you're like standardizing basically the size between Warhammer 40k and Kill Team now. You know, it makes it a lot more like realistic for people, because I think like honestly the 4x8 table was just a little too much, because it was just too much table to use in general, not to mention like the fact that it was just unrealistic for people to play in most settings other than like a dedicated garage or basement or something like that. So I think going to like a slightly smaller setting is a good idea on their part, and I think that's going to benefit them overall in the long run. And then allowing like the compatibility between kill teams, so you're essentially now just like joining up 2 or 3 kill team boards to create like your 40k boards. So now you have basically like a good way for people to build up into it. So you can start off playing kill team you know, with 1 board, and then slowly over time you get a couple more boards. Next thing you know, your kill team has turned into an army and you're playing full-size 40k. And you know, that's the goal, I would imagine, for Kill Team and Warcry and all the smaller games, is to essentially like be that bridge into the big games, which could otherwise be like, I don't want to say intimidating, but it's definitely like, it's definitely intimidating to get started into one of these games if you've never played before. So but there we have it. That's our basic set. Just wanted to kind of show that off, demonstrate it before it went out the door, and what you can expect essentially with one of these Kill Team sets. Always like to show everything off going out the door, not just to generate interest for the business, but also just to give people ideas. This was painted using like a pretty simple technique that has like awesome effects, as you can see. So we basically start off with these pieces right here, and we start with like the brown or black on the bottom, and that's your darkest color. And then you're gonna just basically do a zenithal highlight from like that darkest brown to like a gray, and then to like a khaki tan, and then to a white. And you'll notice like at the bottom you have the darkest colors still, and then at the top you have like the almost like white, and that's going to give you the full on zenithal look to it. and then you're going to go in afterwards and start picking out all the details, like the skulls will get painted white and then washed with like the new Citadel skeleton horde, and then like you know, the silver is leadbelcher, the gold is in this case balthazar, and then we're doing like an agrax wash over it or nuln oil, depending. But it gives you overall a nice set, a very good look. It goes together well, but the buildings look like ruined. You can stack them up. They look awesome. This is actually done a little bit differently. You'll see it has like sort of like a blue tint to it. And essentially what we did is we started this with the brown on the bottom, and then went over it with the leadbelcher. And then the top is the same kind of zenithal look, but we started in this case with like a royal blue. So it's actually a royal blue, and then gray, and then white. And like none of the royal blue is actually like visible through, but you can just kind of see like the hint of it that gets left behind with the zenithal. And this is all done with rattle can and a brush. None of this is done with airbrush, but you can easily get like that same effect, obviously, with an airbrush without using all the extra propellants. So. But there you have it, guys. I'll finish up on this one. Very happy with how it came out, and there's a bunch more expansion going on to this, as the client is actually doing, like we were talking about, starting with a kill team board set like this, and then going to build up into a full-size 40K table. So you'll get to see the commission progress as it goes, but this is getting ready to head out the door. So well, there you have it, guys. A little lore, a little kill team set, and hopefully you get a little inspiration from it. If you do, please give us a like, subscribe, share. Really helps out the channel, as we are just getting started over this last year. But so far I've had great growth and great response from the community, and I do really appreciate it. And with that being said, I'm Warhammer Man. This is Warhammer Man Studios, and I'm out of here.